Well, here we go.
You know how we were talking about how we were going to get canceled?
This is a time.
There it is.
That's it.
There it is.
It's so soon.
I didn't expect it to happen.
into-
He seemed so nice at first.
Welcome, everyone, to the JRPG Pursuit podcast, where we talk about our love for JRPGs, everything from playing them to collecting them, and everything in between. I am one of your co-hosts, Emily, and I'm joined by today with...
I'm Branden.
And I'm Abdallah.
I'm jumping the gun over here.
You got too excited, Branden.
I know. I'm just like all jazzed up. I'm jazzed up to talk about what we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a good episode. So
It is.
Today we are sitting down to talk about one of our favorite types of JRPGs and the twists that make them special. But before we start into today's topic, Dalla has something special to share that he promised from the last episode. So
Yes,
I'm going to
we're holding him to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to let him take it away.
I was supposed
Gotta
to
see this. So this is a special for the YouTube audience in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Audio only audience, you're just gonna have to imagine what everyone else is seeing right now.
Or come over to YouTube to check it out.
Or come over to YouTube and check it out.
I'll kind of try to describe it.
Yes, describe it.
It looks like a scanner from a distance.
It does,
as Branden said earlier. But last episode we were talking about CDI that came up suddenly. I think we were talking about RZET specifically, and that led into that. And so I promised I would show Emily and Branden the CDI that I had. This is my original one from back in the day.
Wow.
It's very fun system. It's like it's like a gray. It's very plain looking. It's got like a little flip top. There's like different models of CDI. So you get like the big giant VCR looking ones that are kind of like what people usually remember.
Right.
And then there's these like mini ones that they made later on down the line.
Was it like different manufacturers made them, or were they all made by Philips?
Yeah, because like this one is a Magnavox.
Magnavox, okay. Yeah.
And so actually right now I have my game of Clue, you know.
Wow, Clue.
Leading up to that Halloween season, got to get spooky with some murder mysteries.
I noticed that game was rated KA. Don't they know it's about murder, most foul?
Kill all.
Oh,
I think that's what
that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's it.
The one interesting thing about this one specifically is that it only has one controller port.
It doesn't have another one on the back?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Yep, exactly. So this one specifically only had one controller port. So
it's one player only.
But a lot of games were kind of like handoff.
Okay.
Like you have one controller and you hand it off. And so, yeah, it's a pretty fun little system. Oh, fun is relative.
Little piece of retro history there.
Yeah.
It's
nostalgic.
History.
It's nostalgic. What are some of the highlight games that you have for that machine?
I do have somewhere one of the Zelda games.
Okay, which one? Wanda Gamelon?
Yes.
Wanda Gamelon? Okay.
Yes. And then I have Hotel Mario.
Hotel Mario?
Yeah.
I've only ever played that at the Midwest Gaming Classic in their like gameplay room. That's incredible. Okay, next time I come over, you need to hook that up.
Yeah.
First of all,
I got
that giant TV.
Yeah, I need to find that. I need to find it.
Do the handoff controller thing there.
Do the handoff controller thing.
Yeah.
And I need to play that Wanda Gamelon because that's
man.
I always wanted to play that when I was a kid, even though like people said it was bad, but I was like, it's Zelda. I gotta play it.
If you want to play, if you ever want to play it and not feel like you're going through hell, someone, I don't remember who it is. I would like to call them out, but I don't remember exactly who the developer is. But they made a version of it that you can play on your PC that is just like upscaled, fixed up, works on modern like controller systems, and then it also like makes it where it's not egregiously hard. So
okay, yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So it is a really good version of it, which I do recommend because it's a interesting game to play.
Yeah,
but it can get very frustrating.
How do you rank it in the Zeldas?
Yeah, number 2 maybe.
Yeah, I'd say probably around number 2, just shy of Link to the Past.
Okay.
Link to the Past, Wanda Gamelon, get into Breath of the Wild, maybe.
Maybe
Link's Awakening's in there somewhere. Gamelon,
yeah,
very close to the top.
Right up there.
Top tier.
One of the
best. That's what peak looked like until very recently.
I know. I mean, I feel like Nintendo should tap Philips on the shoulder again and say, hey, why not? They
didn't realize what they had.
It's true.
That partnership they had was so beautiful.
It was.
Well, look what came of it, you know?
Yeah.
And never again.
Only good things. Oh man. But yeah, that's the CDI right there. Not really any JRPGs on there.
That's a shame, yeah.
So
oh well.
Yep.
So what are we talking about? What's happening today?
Right. So today we are talking about turn-based JRPGs, and this is really the signature, I would say, combat style that when you think of JRPGs, you usually think of turn-based RPGs first. Mm-hmm. But today we kind of wanted to, talk about what innovations have been made in this subgenre and all the JRPGs that are out there with really interesting mechanics. So we figured today we'll just talk about some of our favorites and some of the cool ones that are out there. So who would like to start?
I think I'm gonna jump in. I know you guys been hearing me talk about this CDI for ages, but I'll talk some more.
We want to hear some more from you.
Yeah,
I'm being lulled by the sweet sonorous sound of your voice. So keep laying it on me.
I'm sorry about that.
That's a lot of pressure. I know. I'll try my best to make it sultry.
You got it.
Anyways,
that was another S word I should have thrown in there. Sweet, sultry, sonorous sound. Dang it. Okay.
But I'm gonna make another callback from the last episode, and that is to Chained Echoes. I would show it off physically, but we're never gonna see that. So who knows? I don't know. Anyways, so for me, yes, I wanted to pick something that is. I think something that's it's a fun turn-based style RPG, but it has a really fun, really different mechanics to the battle system, and even to like the leveling system and things like that really make it just very different than other things that you deal with, that you see. And it really, I don't know, I had so much fun with this battle system. It's just and it had this one thing that really made it nice, where after every battle, your health and everything kind of regenerates, so you can just go all out in every battle. The strategy is all there. You just kind of just use everything you got, and then you just start over again. And so it really makes the battle system fun from that perspective.
It makes each battle its own thing. You're starting with all of your material every time you do a battle. There's a handful of games that have done something like that over the years, and I think that's a cool way of approaching it. Yeah,
and it's a game that really kind of hones in on that, because the level of challenge that might come into certain battles because of the system. And so I'll kind of get into that now.
I feel like a lot of things, there's a scarcity mindset, right? So if you got to go all out, it's the opposite.
Right. Exactly. And my natural state is always I'm going to save my MP or save my skills and stuff like that till I get to the real boss. But so to be able to just hey, let me just go all out with all my skills, everything, just because I know I'm going to be able to do it within every battle. But the way this battle system works, so you're kind of placed into a turn-based system like we're talking about, but there has this one key element that is the overdrive system that's usually shown in the top left corner. And so the overdrive kind of has this color scheme of an orange to green to red. And as you're attacking, this little cursor on the gauge starts to move forward. And depending on if you're using active skills, passive skills, or certain types of skills within the other battles, it can move you forward or backwards on that. And so what you're trying to do is stay within the green section, because within the green section, it uses less of your what you call TP, which is the MP of this game. So you can actually get more skills in. It actually attacks at a greater strength, and it helps also regenerate in other ways. So you have this really strategic play of and it kind of forces you, because you're not always using your biggest and best skills all the time. You kind of have to mix in some defensive skills, some debuffs and things like that. So you're forced to kind of create this like ebb and flow of this, of like dance almost, of attacks, defense, and like magic type like debuffs and other types of things, and really create this really cool like flow of the battle system that is just like, no matter what battle you're in, you're always just kind of having fun with it. You never really get bored, and you're not like button mashing, which can happen in some, you know, JRPGs when you're trying to, you know, get through certain areas. And so, and it's nice with the fact that like the progression of your battles, like you really don't need to grind. So you never feel the need that you have to grind per se. Maybe you want to grind some for some money, you can. But you have this like different type of like overdrive system that keeps you going from that perspective. But then you also have this like party system that lets you like partner 2 people within each of your like, so each person can have a partner, and then you can switch them out on the go within turns. And so you can create these different like styles and these different groups of like parties that have these different like types of, I guess, strategies that can play off differently depending on the type of like, if you get into a battle that like gets really hairy and you need someone with magic, or you need more magic than others, then you can kind of switch over and kind of on the fly and do that. And there's no like repercussions for that. So it really lets you kind of just go all out and have fun with it. Another aspect of it is that's really cool is you also fight in mechs, giant robots, and coming
like
from
a Xenogears kind of deal.
Yeah, coming from a like love of Xenogears, I love it when you can be able to switch it up, and you know, you fight in your like as a person, but then also as a mech on in occasions. And it has kind of the same overdrive system, but it's different enough that it actually creates like a whole new strategy that you'll have to learn. It's a bit of a complex, like they kind of throw everything at you in the beginning of the game. So it's like, you really have to try to like figure it all out as you go. But with the mechs, the cool thing is that it has like a gear system. So you have gears 0, 1, and 2. And depending on what gear you're in, you're moving back and forth, right to left in the overdrive area. And so you have like the green, and then you have like orange on either side. And so what you're trying to do is stay in the middle as per usual, because that's where you want to, like, that's where you can get the most damage. But at the same time, each gear level gives you benefits. So like in gear 0, it's kind of like your base gear. It doesn't really give you any like extra attributes or anything like that. You're not going to get any extra power. But in gear 1, that's when you kind of like, it's still the same. It's a little bit more. I think you get extra TPs for like less TP for skills. And then gear 2, you get extra, like a lot of power. So usually like the strategy is like you jump in and you just go into gear 2 for a little bit to kind of move it that way. And then you switch back down and you start bringing it back. And then you start kind of going back and forth through the gears to balance how you're fighting with like the strength of your attacks, how much you're saving your TP, and then also keeping yourself in the green. So it's a little bit of it's kind of the same concept of the overdrive, but you're playing around from like a more mech perspective, and you're doing these like really cool gear systems that kind of like add a little flavor of diversity to your battles.
It sounds more fun than like, for those who've played Trails before, there's of course some kind of mech battle elements. I always found those a little bit kind of weak sauce, but like it's cool to see, you know.
It's undercooked, I think, in Trails a little bit.
In Trails, it's a little like, I want to say rock, paper, scissors, but not really. I mean, it's like,
kind of is.
I'm going to,
a little bit.
Based on their position, you attack one of 3 different spots. And it's like, you just kind of guess which one. Yeah, no, but yeah. You know, based on your description of the battle system and the fact that it's like Xenogears with mechs, that basically has convinced me that I need to play it like urgently. Like the overdrive, I do have it. The overdrive system sounds really interesting to me, like as a really cool solution for the problem of the player just choosing the same thing over and over and over in battle.
Yes.
Because it's a smart way, it sounds like, to incentivize like I never use debuffs in a JRPG, like almost never, and I rarely use buffs. Like I'm just using basic attacks or magic or skills or whatever. But like having some incentive to use this variety of different things, like that's smart design. That's smart design.
Yeah,
I think that sounds really smart.
The fact that it was designed, by one guy, Matthias Linda, I think is his name. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce his name, so I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But the fact that like it was like one person who kind of engineered it. I mean, there's more people that went into the game itself too, but it was generally around one guy who kind of like spearheaded this whole thing. It's his baby, and so that's just incredible. Between that and the storyline as well, it's very like it's right up your alley, Branden.
So basically, just play Chain Decus is what he's saying.
Yeah,
to everyone in the audience.
I want to talk to you about it, Branden. Please, for God's sake.
All right. I'll play it. Gosh, twist my arm, make me have fun.
I'm sorry.
One of the best indie games that's been published.
Yeah. All right. I guess.
Yeah. It's
yeah, that sounds pretty incredible. Yeah. I did you have anything more to say about it, or did you want us to move on to our next title?
No, I think that's I went on for long enough about it, so I'll give you guys. I figured
since we talked about Trails a little bit, maybe Branden, you should start with.
It's a good segue.
That's a good call. Yeah. So with the concept being turn-based with a twist, I think the Trails Through Daybreak battle system is honestly one of the best that I've played in terms of just a turn-based combat system. So if you're not familiar, the Trails series for 9 games, had essentially the same battle system, tweaks and improvements in every new entry. By the time you get to the 9th game, which is Reverie, I think that's 9. By the time you get to Reverie, it's like just very shiny, like very good turn-based battle system.
Best refinements they've done for sure.
Yeah, over those years. But when you move into Trails Through Daybreak, you get that full refinement of the turn-based battle system, and on top of it, you get an action combat system that you basically have full access to almost all of the time. So what that means is running around in a dungeon, on the field, whatever, you can attack and dodge and do all the action RPG stuff that you would do. And you can take down enemies that way. It's totally a valid way to do it. You get the same amount of experience points if you attack them in action mode as you would any other way. So it's a way to, I guess, grind, if you want to call it grinding, without having to go through, the more lengthy, like methodical turn-based combat. But at any time you have the ability to push a button and jump right into turn-based. So you essentially have access to 2 battle systems that are complementary, and you can switch between them back and forth as much as you want. So, cool. The idea is very cool. Like,
and there's the other games doing it too.
Yes. So Metaphor, which I think by the time this episode releases will be out. When does that come out?
Sometime in October. I'm not sure when.
Yeah.
Is it end of October?
It might be the end.
Towards the end. So not quite yet.
So it won't quite be out yet, but by the time this comes out, Metaphor.
There's a demo though.
Atlas,
so
yes, there's a demo, but that will be out soon. It has a very similar sort of combat style. I guess Trails did it first.
They did.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
They paved the way.
Yeah, I can't think of any other game that has something like this,
like an action turn-based.
But I hope we see more now that
I think it's it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So the idea is the optimal way to fight is, particularly with a stronger enemy, you run in there and attack like in action mode until you stun the enemy. Enemies have a stun meter in addition to their health, and when the stun meter fills up, they're stunned. once an enemy is stunned, if you immediately launch into turn-based mode, that's how you attack with advantage. Whereas in other games, you might have to approach the enemy from behind or hit them with your sword before before they hit you or whatever. This is how you do, like, how you have advantage in battle. So every enemy starts out getting like a health hit, and you get to go first. And it's like, and because there's no transition to some separate battle screen or anything like that, your characters are just kind of where they are when the battle starts. So your team can be anywhere. It's completely it's really cool. And the way the turn-based combat works is, like I kind of alluded to, it's essentially that refined Trails into Reverie combat system, just even more streamlined, even smoother, even cooler. Like the biggest change, and I think for the best by far, is the further focus on positioning. So Trails has always had a big focus on positioning of your characters and the positions of enemies, so that when your turn comes up, you might have an attack that affects a certain area of the screen, a certain group of enemies or whatever. That's always been important. But in Daybreak, your skills will sometimes get a boost depending on your position relative to the enemy. So you might, this is something that you see in like Xenoblade as well. Like you get a boost from the side or a boost from behind the enemy.
In some ways it's essential still though. And also your proximity to your party members, that gives you additional boosts.
Yep. So being able to move around is really important. In the previous Trails games, you could move anywhere, but it took your turn. Basically, you would hit move, and then you would put your cursor where you wanted to go, and your character would move there, and then their turn was over. Now, their turn would come back around quicker because they didn't take an action that took a lot of effort, but it still was kind of their turn. Now, whenever your character's turn comes up, you have free range to just control stick, move around anywhere you want on the battlefield, and get yourself in position to attack an enemy from a certain direction based on, if the skill is enhanced by doing that. And like Emily said, their answer to the Cold Steel link combat, where two characters will be partnered up and then would be able to do follow-up attacks with each other and things like that. Essentially, if you are standing in close proximity to another party member, they will do a follow-up attack with you. So your position in relation to the rest of the party plays a huge role in how effective you can be in combat. And just, somehow they took what was already, like we said, a really polished and streamlined combat system and made it even quicker and smoother. Like, the thing that kind of, I don't know if it's kind of a joke in the Trails community, is like, it's you always have turbo mode on or fast forward or whatever, because combat's so slow. It feels so slow.
It's just like Honkai Star Rail.
It's like slow motion.
You can't play that on normal mode.
If you don't have the fast speed on, you're crazy. You're you're giving up your life. You're giving up too much of your life for this game. But I will tell you, I never turned on turbo mode in Daybreak once, because the pacing feels perfect. It just feels it feels like it should.
I was swapping back and forth personally.
Did you?
Yeah, so the action stuff, I can't do turbo. I had to
no.
That
would be too hard.
It was too hard, honestly, for me.
Yeah.
I kept losing life. I was like, oh, I gotta switch back.
But I always hated using turbo mode. Like, I did it because it, you needed it, especially in combat in the older Trails games. But I didn't like using it because I was like, I wish that it just was the right speed. I wish that it just felt right.
For the cutscenes, at least, or no?
No. I tried not to have turbo mode on for any cutscenes.
I guess I play YouTube on double speed too much.
Yeah, I don't listen to podcasts sped up. I don't watch YouTube sped up.
Okay, that makes sense then.
That's not for me. But yeah, so like it felt like the right speed to me, and that was a big win, because I don't know, like that was my major criticism about the combat, and about the Trails game in general. Yeah, was that it was so slow. Like if you play with turbo mode on in like Trails of Cold Steel, you play with turbo mode on and then you turn it off, it literally is like
slow motion.
That can't be right. Is my system broken? Like, is the CPU like dying? Because this is not. This is too slow. The swinging of a sword. If this was a real sword I was holding, this wouldn't hurt somebody. It's so slow.
When I was playing like Reverie, every time like my PS5 would turn off the game itself and I'd have to restart it, it would turn off turbo mode, and then I'd be like, it would start up and I'd get into a battle like without thinking, and I'd be like, oh god, what's going on here? And I'm like,
oh wait, gotta push that.
Yeah, it is
just like molasses.
But then also turbo is way too fast sometimes to just like when you're moving around, it's like it could be
it can be. I had
jarring.
I had problems. I had problems with that.
So I wish there was the
thing I liked about the thing I liked about Reverie is that there were levels you could set. So you could say like battle 2x, 3x, 4x, field 2x, 3x, 4x. So like I set the battle to 3x in Reverie, and that felt good to me. 4x was the standard turbo mode, and that felt too fast. But 3x was like, I like that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
But Daybreak feels like 3x by default, like just as it's standard. That's the way it is.
Okay. Yeah.
And big win as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I did have complaints about Daybreak about one thing regarding the combat system, and it's how they showed the timeline.
I never understood that.
It was so bad.
Never
and
understood.
Apparently they fixed in the next one, but I was like,
that's
who's
good to hear.
Going next? It was very difficult.
I never understood
enemies.
I never understood who was going next, and I always missed the little icons that indicated like a bonus on the turn.
Yeah.
I never knew who.
Because there's so much strategy in the previous titles of trying to get the timing right and to maximize like your speed and stuff. And like I felt like that was lost in Daybreak, and it was so sad because that was one of my favorite things about
it sounds like but if they're fixing it, if they fixed it in 2, that's good.
They fixed it in 2, and we just have the new one came out today as we're speaking in Japan. So I've heard good things about that combat system. I have tried not to look at spoilers, but
I will never.
I've seen some of the cool what do they call them, the ultimate attacks and stuff are so cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so Daybreak was like Daybreak combat was like 5 steps forward, 1 step back, and it's
so much good though.
Still a very good.
And
Daybreak
2 is going to be amazing. I can't wait for next year. That's finally here.
I'm pumped. Yes.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get that special edition.
Yes.
On the shelf. It's gonna be nice.
What? And I'm curious what if there's going to be any changes to Sky Remake, because we see a little bit of changes.
Yeah.
But it's not going to go full Daybreak, apparently.
Like, no, it's you can attack on the field, but it leads immediately into Yeah.
I'm excited.
Which actually, it'll be interesting though if they make changes for like the second chapter and the third. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. It sounds like it's probably going to be Xseed that handles the localization.
Interesting.
Which is probably cheaper. I'm assuming, and my understanding is that typically the way it works is the localization company owns their localization. So my assumption, and this is not from them or anybody else, this is just my assumption, is that Xseed went to Falcom and said, hey, you can pay us less because we already have this localization. So it's going to cost you less to work with us than it would to work with somebody else. That's my guess. I don't know.
Because I know NAS has done some Atlas titles that they brought over. For example, the one game I'm going to talk about soon is Lions Alive. Like on the 3DS, that was an Atlas published title. And then when it came to the Switch and PS4, it was through NAS America. So it'll be interesting what happens.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense to give Xseed a crack at the redoing Sky,
some redemption,
and then let
the redemption arc,
and then let Nisa push forward with the series, the new stuff, because that's a lot to. It would just be a lot to ask of any company to handle all those games.
But
they do East too, so
yeah.
I do like Nisa's special editions a little bit more, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss those. Xseeds, like recently, it's a lot of like fragile cardboard.
Yeah.
Not crazy about that.
It's not great.
Having any kind of physical of Trails in the Sky would be good, though. I'm just excited for any kind of physical.
I'm gonna buy it.
It's auto buys, I think, for all of us at this point.
I have no choice. My hand just magically appears at the buy button.
I need Bestel.
Whoops.
I can't resist.
I can't.
Like, I still would like to find a copy of the PSP Trails in the Sky first chapter that came out over here. But I just have never come across one in the wild. Never seen one.
I've seen them online. They go for a lot of money.
They go for a lot of money.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe someday I'll cop. Even though I have the PS Vita Japanese versions, which are beautiful. I do recommend those. If
those are really cool.
You like those?
I saw your videos on those way back in the day.
I still need to get the third, except that one's still expensive in Japan. So spoilers, I didn't get that on my trip. I didn't even see it, honestly. I looked for it.
It's probably not easy to find. It's even in Japan.
I don't think there are that many made. That's why it's so expensive. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's my Trails spiel.
All right, so I guess I will segue into my pick, which is the Alliance Alive. And when it comes to their combat system, it does take your traditional turn-based, back and forth combat systems, but has a twist. It's very Saga inspired, from my understanding, though I haven't personally played any of these Saga games, so I'll have to lean on my co-host for this a little bit.
It was the first thing I thought of when I started playing that game. I was like, this is very Saga.
Yeah. And this was actually a follow-up to Furu's, I think, first attempt, right, of this sort of style of gameplay, because before they did The Legend of Legacy, which had kind of lukewarm, I would say, reception, especially at least internationally, from my understanding. But I think the Alliance Alive really fine-tuned what they're trying to do there, and that is with both the story and the characters, but also with how they dealt with the combat system, and using that sort of what is it, that it's kind of like the random traits, or you get random skills whenever you go in battle. And so there's an element to surprise whenever you're kind of engaged in battle, and your characters get kind of built up in not really the traditional way that we're used to with the turn-based combat system. So I always thought that was really neat. I know some people don't really like that style, since there's so much like element of like probability and the unknown. And I feel like the mindset, right, for turn-based, like who enjoys turn-based combat, is you have this grind, you have this kind of expectations of how strong your characters are going to get. So that kind of threw it out the window with this
it's
style.
like I'm picking my choices from a menu. Like you can't introduce all this randomness. It's going to drive me insane. The randomness threw me for a loop, especially in the actual Saga games that I played before Alliance Alive. And I think that, so I loved the Alliance Alive, but I think if I hadn't had to play it, because I was reviewing it for some publication back in the day, I think if I hadn't had to play it, I probably wouldn't have, because I would have been like, oh, Saga combat, not for me. But it actually was really cool. It's the chance mechanic is interesting, because you'll choose an attack, right? And then you might spark a different attack, and usually that's good. Usually it's like a better attack, but sometimes it's like an attack that is not as effective as the one you were going to use, and you're like,
yes.
So
like, this is pointless.
that element of chance can like cut both ways.
It can.
And
for most part, at least in Alliance Alive, it felt like it was rewarding whenever you got a new skill.
For the most part, it's a good implementation of that whole thing. So you're saying that the Legend of Legacy was a similar? I haven't played it. It was a similar.
I haven't played it
system,
either,
though?
but I heard that was just kind of like their first attempt at this sort of style.
Okay, I know Food for Dogs like that.
Yes.
Right. This is
that's why I still have it on my shelf, and I want to try it.
Is this our second or third reference to Food for Dogs? We're gonna keep a tally of how many times we've mentioned Food for Dogs until she comes on the show.
Yeah,
we're up to 3.
I think. I guess it doesn't work like Beetlejuice. So.
Yeah, she didn't magically appear.
One day we'll get her.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Oh, what was I going to say? Add to that. There's the new Saga game that I'm interested from Square Enix. They're redoing. I think one of the more popular titles, right?
For sure.
Second Saga 2 or something.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the name. Romancing Saga 2. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that one just looks beautiful too. I kind of want to still support, Saga games because I really like the style, and I don't think Furu is going to return back to it with the Alliance of Life. Though they have, re-released both Legend of Legacy and the Alliance Alive onto modern systems. So maybe they haven't quite forgotten about it and they want to return to that. But
I hope they do. I really hope they do.
I do too. I thought they were just so charming,
Yeah.
I forget who's the director for the Alliance Alive. It's somebody like
someone notable. I
can't remember if it's like it's not from Suikoden. It's not from. I can't think of it right
Masataka Matsuura.
What I'm trying to remember what he's done, because I know it's like somebody of notoriety or something like that.
So the scenario was written by the Suikoden guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it is. All right. That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah, that may be what you're thinking.
That's why
Masashi Hamauzu did the music. So it has some big, like most Furyu games, right? It's like an Avengers Assemble of like really cool people from the industry. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what got me. I haven't played it yet, but it's always been on my list because like the fact that he did the story, like the scenario writing for it, I was like, all right, like I can give that a shot.
Give it a shot.
I've only played the 3DS version.
Yeah, me too.
And I still have the HD version with in my collection. So someday when I feel the urge to replay it.
Yeah.
You still can if you want the Asian English version. That's a little bit easier than the North American one. If you want.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So I do recommend that. And who knows, maybe they'll remake it for the PS5 because they did that for Legend of Legacy recently.
That's true.
And I think Nisa probably still has the rights for that, for publishing.
I hope that, maybe if the Saga game, if Saga 2, if Romancing Saga 2 does well, that will be encouragement for Furyu to go back to that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's generally understood and accepted that essentially Alliance Alive is an unofficial Saga game. Like,
I think so.
It basically is, right?
I think it's well regarded too. Like most people I've heard who played it enjoyed it.
Yeah. I've heard good things about like the story, about like just the whole the game.
So surprisingly good story. Charming. I really enjoyed the story a lot.
I think it's very character driven, which I appreciate.
Me too.
And there's just so many like humorous elements and very sweet and charming moments too. And so
I love the artwork too. It's just like it's just nice.
They're great.
I know
it worked so well on the 3DS. So
yeah, it was perfect. The art style was perfect for the 3DS.
Yeah. Be cool to see. Yeah, if Furu takes on this again, like how they would adapt that to a non 3DS version. Without doing just an HD retouching on it.
That would be nice.
But another 3DS title I wanted to bring up, if I could choose another game here, is Radiant Historia, Perfect Chronology on the 3DS, which I think goes without saying that's very much a popular title. And they have one of the most unique combat systems when it comes to turn-based. And I would love to see this implemented anywhere else, honestly. I don't know why it hasn't been picked up, at least on the indie scene that I know of. But how they worked out their combat systems outside of all the time traveling and other kind of cool mechanics throughout the game is that they implemented this kind of push system where you have this grid base where all of your enemies are. And so they could fit into, I believe it's a quadrant or like 9
it's
different
like
positions.
one of 9 slots.
Yeah. And so they have different levels of depth. So it's usually a 3x3 kind of grid. And they the kind of way to really excel with the combat is to push all the enemies so that they become merged together on a single square, and then you kind of go and whack at them over there once they're all together there. And it's just such a cool and really fun system that again I want to see return again.
I'm pretty sure you also get like a attack boost when multiple enemies are
they
on
encourage
one
it. There's
square.
Combos.
So like
that just encourages you to do more.
One of the really interesting ways that they make that work is you have the complete freedom to rearrange the order of turns.
Yes.
Like you can go in at any time and like, okay, so these enemies are going to go next and then I'm going to go. It's like, no, I'm going to take all of my people and I'm going to move them all up here, 1, 2, 3, like all in a row. And that freedom is what allows you to pull off these like crazy combos where you mash all the enemies up together and then like unload on them with really, really cool system.
That so cool. Awesome. And it's not just like physical attacks. There's like magic and some other really cool like timing that you could do with the rearrangements and making sure they're all kind of pushed to a single square.
Yeah. I need to play this game.
I need to get my hands on a physical copy of this game. I feel like the biggest chump. I feel like the biggest chump. I have it digitally.
I was going to say, I think you could probably find one.
They've
been going down in price, so I think they're definitely obtainable. And if you don't want to, like, if you want to maybe go for something that's a little bit less expensive, I do think the original DS version is still sufficient. If you want to,
I have that. I do have the.
So,
I do have the.
Okay, that's good.
Original DS version. So
it just some of the quality of life enhancements they did in the 3DS version are.
I really like the 3DS, and because the 3DS version was the version I played first, I actually prefer the character portraits from the 3DS. So like it works out for me.
Okay.
I know there's controversy over the changes to the character portraits between the two versions, but I like the 3DS versions better. It's what I know.
Yeah, that's the only one I played so far. I've only kind of dabbled a little bit on the DS version just to see what the differences were. Yeah, I thought the 3DS one was great and sounded great, looked great.
Like the voice, like the performances, I thought were all really good. I was like, this is a 3DS game.
Yeah,
it was
I turned up the volume. Sometimes I turn off the volume, I used to on the 3DS, honestly. Like, because it was so portable and I just didn't have headphones, so I just would turn off the volume.
And you got like Yoko Shimomura doing the music too. Like it's just all good. Yeah, it's just all good. I wish that game would come back. Bring that game back.
They need to put that on the Switch.
What
are you doing?
Atlas. Why don't we have that game?
Like,
do you put out Metaphor? Let's get Metaphor out there, but then let's get Radiant Historia.
It was weird because like that version of the game came out when the Switch was around.
It was late. I think it was right before the Switch, or it was like in 2017. So
like
it
was
so that was late.
So like it was like one of the last like 3DS like hurrahs.
Yeah. I think I picked it up close to launch. So
I remember seeing that and been like, oh, why can't they just put that on the Switch? And then I don't know why I didn't buy it, and now I kick myself every day thinking about it.
It was nice for that online magazine that I wrote for, that I was like the JRPG guy, because I got all the I got to review all the JRPGs, but then I never got physical copies of the JRPGs. And collector Branden, who was not around back then, is very upset that I don't have those. So I do have Alliance Alive. I did pick up a 3DS copy of that, but
that's good. Did you get the long box?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I love the 3DS long boxes.
Yes.
They're nice.
I need more of them.
I need all of them.
Not the best time to be collecting for them.
No, unfortunately. It'll get better. It'll get better.
Hopefully. Things do come around, Ben.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Give it time.
Yeah.
When we're like in 20 years.
I was going to say, I think the 3DS just had so many interesting mechanics in the JRPG space, especially for turn-based combat. So there's just so many bangers on this 3DS. Mm-hmm. Very much an underrated JRPG machine.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd like to kind of like maybe even just mention it. But like one of the fun aspects of the old school JRPGs is, let's say if you look at like Shadow Hearts and Kidalko and or just Shadow Hearts, and then like Legend of Dragoon with the time-based kind of attacks that happen in sequence when you're going through it.
Yeah,
I just found that to be just a lot of fun. It's hard to kind of play that nowadays because of the lag that you kind of get.
Oh yeah, when you're not playing on a CRT, right?
If you don't play it on a CRT, if you're playing it on a flat screen, you're gonna get that like input lag that's just like makes it almost impossible sometimes to get that. So if they ever brought it back or remastered it, I'm curious to see.
There are ways around it.
Or I don't know. There's what is it? That spiritual successor, right? It's coming out.
Penny Blood.
Yes, Penny Blood.
I haven't looked at what exactly the combat system's like, but I imagine it should be similar.
I think it's similar.
So there are ways around it. I played Shadow Hearts on my backwards compatible PS3, That goes to the HD TV. I didn't have any issues with timing.
Okay, good.
Playing it on there.
Okay.
So that might be something to consider. I don't know the technical reasons why that might be. So unless I'm just a secret genius and was able to do it with it being messed up, and we all know that's not true, then it must have helped. So,
or you just were something about it. You just weren't able, or you weren't affected by it.
I was bad in the right way that it that it worked.
It made up for it.
You were so impressively bad that you actually got it right.
Yeah. Friends, thank you for that vote of confidence in me. I appreciate that.
We're here for you, Branden. We'll go to bat for you every time.
We're your support, don't worry.
Yeah.
I like that. I love that. And like the OG, like Super Mario RPG, introducing that. I feel like that was the game that introduced the concept,
of
at least
time.
To me, of like timing a button press being a vital part of the game. And then Final Fantasy VIII kind of half sort of did it, like with one character.
Yeah. And
like it's
Xenoblade Chronicles 2, even though that's not technically a turn-based, they had you just smash the button at the right moment.
3 had that too, right? Attacks. Like you.
Yes, but I would say it was more important for 2.
In 2,
when you're doing.
I feel like I never really got it down in 2, and that's why I struggled so much with 2. I was so confused by 2, Emily. Like I got through it by the skin of my teeth.
Oh no!
But I was so confused by the combat system in that game.
I love the combat.
I'm not saying it's bad. I just couldn't get. I just was stupid.
I think
it's not that. Honestly, you had to watch a YouTube video to understand it. I think I did that in the beginning because that's what I heard you should do, because they were very poor at teaching the mechanics in game.
It was
I remember seeing the tutorials and being like, I don't understand this. I will just.
All the tutorials were stretched out so much, and I think there was a lot of lost things in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Like you could be 30 hours into the game,
right? And then you're still learning.
You're still
learning. Though they didn't like all the elemental stuff and stuff. They really glossed over it when they shouldn't have.
I never got that.
Most fun.
Never.
That's my biggest critique of like Takahashi and the Xenoblade series is that I think he went a little too like
technical.
Too technical. Which is like it's fine, but like I think when it gets to the point where like you need to look up like deep dives into how everything is done, it gets a little
it's an
crazy.
indicator that something went wrong.
Like a 5-minute YouTube video. It wasn't that bad.
No, of course it's fine, but like if you have to go to YouTube to learn how to play the game, it's that's a failure.
It's like a 2-hour tip of the iceberg video of how to do it.
I'm torn though, because it is my favorite like combat system in the Xenoblade
I think I can see that, like if you like learned it and it's you know what I mean.
Once it clicks, it really clicks. But I can understand
combat in 3. I really love the combat in 3 because that one I felt like was explained well, and I got it.
It's very polished. I got bored at 3 though, because once I understood it, there was nothing exciting to learn. I don't know how to explain it. I got a little bored.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially the chain attacks. I was like, okay, well, it's the same old.
Those did tend to drag on a little bit.
They did.
But I liked seeing the total damage done in like the millions. That was fun.
I try to beat my record all the time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a little tangent there. Sorry for the who don't
Xenoblade,
like Xenoblade. And
notably not turn-based.
Not turn-based.
Not at all.
But but very good, and you should check it out if you haven't.
It's peak.
Play all the Xenoblades. Especially X when they finally release the rumored remake or port of X.
It should be happening.
I love X so much, you guys. I love X so much. Like I know it's like the black sheep of the group, but like it's like
it's fun, right?
It's just like gorgeous. Yeah. It is like one of the most gorgeous games I've ever played. Is on the Wii U.
Yeah,
it's on the stinking Wii U. So when I played Xenoblade Chronicles X, I'm sorry, I know this is a tangent. When I played Xenoblade Chronicles X for the first time, the PlayStation 5 was out. I had a PlayStation 5, and I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. And as I was playing it, I was like, this is the most beautiful game I've ever played. And I had just been playing PlayStation 5. I'm like, this is insane that this stupid thing is on the Wii U. You flying around in your I forget what they're called.
Skill. Skells, yes.
Flying around in your skells, and the stupid cheesy music is playing.
Oh, it's so cheesy.
It's the cheesiest, dorkiest.
We love the cheese.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. Anyway, turn-based games. I like Bravely Default. I was going to talk about Bravely Default. And not a ton to say about it, honestly. Like Emily, you mentioned before we started, like it's kind of based on the original Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 5. So the job system. But the major innovation that Bravely Default introduced was the idea of, do I want to say commoditizing turns, or turning turns into something that you can save and spend instead of like your turn is up, so now you need to take your action, or pass your turn, defend, or whatever. It's like now
taking scarcity to a whole other level.
Yeah.
So you can stockpile your turns and unleash multiple attacks at the same time of whatever you choose. Like you basically get multiple turns in a row.
Yeah.
And the way it works is you can spend your stamina points or whatever, and each turn you save adds up one additional stamina. So you can get up to 4 turns at one go. But you can also spend your stamina into the negative. So you can have no turns saved up and choose to take 4 turns in a row if you want, but you are spending into the negative. So you will have to then wait 4 turns for your character to come back around again. So that gives you like sort of a risk reward where it's like, okay, I'm in this trash mob battle. I think that if I have all of my characters go all out 4 turns, I can wipe this enemy out and then be done with it and not have to wait for their turns. But if I'm wrong, then the enemy's going to wail on me for like 16 turns, you know? So yeah, so like that was a fun little like risky sort of thing that they included in that. Bravely Default, I really hope that the first 2 games in that series get remade or ported. They'd have to be kind of remade because to not be on the 3DS, but
it's just like The Lines Live. They got an HD remaster, so
yeah. But it's still like they have to remake the interface and stuff. You know what I mean? It's doesn't translate 1-to-1.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that brought to anything. Bring it to everything. Really cool.
Did you play the one on the Switch? Bravely Default
2? Yeah. Bravely Default 2.
Yeah,
I thought that was excellent.
Oh yeah.
They are, you know, if you want to call them like kind of AA sort of titles. They don't have the biggest budget, but they have really good art direction. The combat is a lot of fun. As like the kind of the answer to what traditional Final Fantasy was, I think it's a really cool successor that I hope they continue making. I'm sure they will continue making games for. And with the Team Asano sort of train rolling, I wanted to also mention Octopath Traveler. Not so much because of the combat. I mean, it has a similar sort of, you can save up turns or stamina points or whatever and unleash multiple attacks at the same time. So it has that kind of in common. But the way Octopath Traveler is set up is kind of an interesting mix between, well, it feels a little bit more like a combination of Final Fantasy and Saga, like the way some Saga games tell their stories spread out across multiple characters. So point being that the Team Asano are really like keeping the old school turn-based stuff alive. Yeah. And as an old, I appreciate that. I like that stuff to stick around. I think it's cool.
I agree. Yeah.
Thank you, fellow old.
Yeah, we're just olding it up.
Shout out to the 30 plus gamers out there.
That's right. Unite.
Yeah. It's hard to get up once you've gamed for like a couple hours. The knees start creaking.
The back can't deal with it. No, thank you.
No.
Well, I feel like we had a pretty good discussion about turn-based role-playing games. We covered a lot of
good games there.
Yeah. We got to save room for some other discussions about it.
Right. There's down the line. Probably plenty more that we didn't touch on.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, for anyone listening, we'd love to hear what some of your favorite JRPGs that implement the turn-based systems, but with a twist. And whatever kind of cool innovations you've seen throughout the years, and what callbacks or really cool mechanics we would love to see maybe used more in the future.
Yeah.
Those type of games.
Or if you have any new mechanics you'd like to see.
Yes, yes. I think there's always room for innovation to keep the subgenre alive and interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, put your ideas in the comments or send us an email, jrpgpursuit@gmail.com. Just know that if you put an idea for a mechanic in the comments and, Final Fantasy famed director Hironobu Sakaguchi happens to see it, it's fair game. He's going to probably take it.
He's in our comments.
Okay with that. He's in the comments all the time. He's lurking. And I'm like, Sakaguchi-san, go to make a game for us, man. And he's like, No, I want to read your comments, Branden.
Yeah. He's like, I love you guys.
He's real tender about it. It's weird.
Super tender. And it's
so weird. Like, Sakaguchi-san,
I'm like,
barely know you.
I know. Thank you, but
you cuties.
just a couple of cuties here. Oh my God.
Anyway, thanks for
thanks for watching. We'll catch you.
So we shall maybe go around and say where you can find us. So I'll start. I'm Emily, and you can find me over at Orperology at YouTube and other social medias.
I am Branden. You find me on YouTube at Just the Gems. On Twitter now, I'm at _ Just the Gems. I'm trying to gradually work my way to having that be my iconography. So working on it. There I am.
Took it before someone else could steal it.
Yeah. And I did reach out to Twitter and I said, hey, somebody's been squatting on this username for like 6 years and they haven't posted a single thing. Can I please have it? So we'll see.
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitter at Dala998. So yeah, come chat.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for listening. If you stuck around this far into the episode, and we'll be back next week with a brand new exciting topic. So until then, bye.
Take care.